Hi, AP English Language and Composition Online students. Mr. Francavilla here again. Today I want to help you be able to identify subordinate clauses in sentences, and specifically we'll go to the noun clause worksheet after this practice so that I can explain to you how to do that one. So this is I just posted this for you today, Wednesday, and I give you a blank sheet and then I give you all the answers too. To practice, I had given you another sheet that wasn't very helpful. It was about combining sentences, but I explained that on Edmodo. So if I look at a sentence, I see that I have a subject and a verb, phrase, action, and even though this does start with who, which could begin an adjective clause, what do I really have idea-wise? You do know this idea. You know this idea. You do know this idea. So you have to realize that this is a concept. It's a noun, right? So the thinking behind it, I'm trying to get that across to you. I learned subject, action, verb. What did I learn? This whole concept. All right? So this whole concept. And yes, noun clauses can begin with that. So it's a noun clause acting like a direct object. Once again. This sentence does not have any subordinate clause. When people choose pseudonyms, they do so for a variety of reasons. So I have a subordinating conjunction beginning this subordinate clause. So they do so for a variety of reasons. This must be modifying something over here that is not a noun. When do they do so? When do they do so? All right, so it's modifying the verb do. All right, so we do have an adverb. That one might be a little bit difficult because it's not an obvious subordinating conjunction. A pseudonym or fictitious name is not always one that conceals a person's identity. So here's a key. I do have who, whose, whom, which, that. I know this could begin a noun clause, but you have to look at how this subordinate clause is acting and where it is. All right? It is just after this noun. All right? So it's modifying this noun, it's giving us more information about one. And one is referring back to name. So in any case, this is modifying one. That's why it's an adjective clause. After all, nearly everyone knows who Mark Twain was. Everyone knows this idea, right? Subject, action, verb, direct object. Noun clause. Objects are nouns. That he was really Samuel Langhorne Clemens is not. We have a verb, the verb in the main clause. Oftentimes, what the word that's next to our subordinate clause is very helpful to indicate what that subordinate clause is, and this is a case here. Of course, we also know that this is coming first in the sentence. So find the verb in the main clause I told you in the previous lesson. Now we know everything up to the verb is the subject here. So it's one big idea is, and then the direct object after. So subject, noun. Some writers may conceal their gender, though, as Marianne Evans did by assuming the name George Eliot. Now, this is a pretty easy one to identify, as should be part of the underlining here. So we have a subordinating conjunction that gives us the indication that we have an adverb clause. And it doesn't help write the word right before it here, but it is modifying may conceal. So one of the clues will help us. How it's acting, what it begins with. In this case, it's more what it begins with that helps us identify the type of subordinate clause that it is. A modern writer who has done the same without a pseudonym is P.D. James. Let's find our way around in the sentence. Writer is P.D. James. Subject, linking verb, predicate, nominative. Well, this is next to a noun. We already have a subject, so this is not going to be a noun most likely, unless it's an appositive renaming the noun that comes before it, writer. But it isn't. It's modifying writer. Okay, it doesn't have commas around it. Okay, so this is an adjective clause modifying writer. When men write romance fiction, they sometimes assume a woman's name. Okay, sorry. They sometimes assume a woman's name is my independent clause. This is a subordinate clause, obviously, and it's modifying assume, all right? So this is not my subject because I already have a subject here, so it's not a noun clause, right? And it starts with a subordinating conjunction. I know this could begin an adjective clause, but this is modifying assume. So that gives you an idea on how to think through sentences, to find, how to think through when you identify a subordinate clause, what type it is. Now let's look at that noun clause worksheet together because it is a little confusing, and we'll learn some new things by looking at it. Got to unfreeze now. So, our noun clause worksheet has some tricks to it, so I'm going to look at it with you. Caroline mentioned that she had earned a black belt in karate. I'm not going to do the whole thing with you, but some tricks. I think you could figure that one out. I'm not even going to give you that one. Number 2 is a little bit new to you, maybe. All right. You have done thinking. So we do have a subject, a verb, action verb, and we have this thinking. We haven't studied this yet. That's why it's difficult to start with subordinate clauses and clauses before I do phrases. Now, one of your choices here is object, and that's what this little subordinate clause is going to be. It's an object. But, so this is an object of what it comes after, right? So about is a preposition. Around, about, above, below, those are all prepositions. This follows a preposition. What is a prepositional phrase? I think I mentioned it in another video. Starts with a preposition, ends with the object of the preposition. An object is a noun. This is my noun clause, acting like the object of the preposition. But if we think a little further, we can also understand something new. A little bit confusing, perhaps. This is my beginning of my direct object for have done, the action verb have done. What have you done? Thinking about what I suggested. So this whole unit, this whole grouping of words is what it starts with. It's a phrase, actually. It starts with an ing word. There are 2 types of ing words, gerunds and participles, present participles and gerunds. This is a noun, so it's a gerund. Gerunds are nouns. Participles are adjectives if they're not in verb phrases, right? So when they're acting outside of verb phrase, ing words are either gerund nouns or present participles acting like adjectives, nouns or adjectives. But we'll go over that more in another lesson in our next unit. But what do we have here? We have a gerund. And then we have a prepositional phrase after the gerund. Our gerunds, our infinitives, our participles, those are 3 types of words that are called verbals. They're not verbs. They're acting like other parts of speech that are taken from verb forms. So don't worry about understanding this all right now. I save it for mostly later, but I'm just helping you to know what's going on and why you would call this an object. So this whole thing, this prepositional phrase, is the object of this gerund. And this subordinate clause, this noun subordinate clause, is the object of this preposition. So it can be confusing to look so deeply into a sentence. But let's look a little further, only at ones that would be confusing. Hopefully not all of them. This should be easy. This is a little new to you. We have a little subordinate noun clause here, but it's in between commas. And so it is renaming camping. I know it's probably you're prone to thinking of this as modifying the word that it comes before, but when it comes in between commas, it's going to be most likely an apositive, renaming the noun. So we're going to call this an apositive noun clause. Okay, so let's look at this right here because this could be a little difficult. We have a little adverb clause. We're not looking at those in this case. We're going to start here. Mother is, okay, so subject linking verb. Used to buying whatever is on sale. All right, so we have used to, and then we have buying, and then whatever is on sale. Well, our noun clause is just whatever is on sale, right? So the WH word, the long WH word usually, and whatever is on sale. Subject, verb. So that's our noun clause, whatever is on sale. But what does it follow? It follows this gerund, all right? So it is, just like we can have an object of a preposition, right here, the object of the preposition about is this subordinate noun clause. The object of this gerund is this little subordinate clause. So it is an object of what it came before. Infinitives, gerunds, and participles can have objects, just like prepositions can. Right? So that will be new to you. So when you find something like that in this worksheet, you would just label it an object. You don't have to go to such depth to label it object of the gerund. Right? Let's look at some more. You should be able to figure this one out. This is similar to one I just explained to you, so I don't want to tell you that one. This should be pretty easy. So should this. So should this. The clue here is this word is not an action verb, right? So that will help you get the right answer for number 12. Similar situation for number 13. The location of this one should give you the right answer. All right. So all right, so this one is a little bit difficult, number 15. And that's why I knew this one would give you a little trouble. So this is what we call an infinitive. We have not studied that yet, right? And so to plus a verb, I explained that on another video. To plus a verb is an infinitive. And that's one of the verbals, like a participle or a gerund. Now, what do we have after it? If the play would be a hit. Play would be hit. Subject, action verb, well, no, linking verb because we have be in it, and hit would be a predicate nominative. But this little subordinate clause is a noun, all right? Because it's the object of to know. Even though it does start with if, which can be a subordinating conjunction. So in this case,